Yes, well, he has come across this person, the world, architecture and history. He's got quite a few videos on his channel and he's talking some very interesting things, isn't he, Mickey?
Pretty interesting indeed.
On this bit here, he's kind of explaining we had wooden wheels, and in 1700 we've gone from wooden wheels to metal wheels. But there was metal wheels, but the metal wheels have sort of been covered up, so you're not supposed to notice that there was metal wheels, because that wouldn't fit into our history. Anyway, sorry, we're just doing this video and I had so many problems, so yeah, just bear with us on the video. But he's very interesting because what he's kind of finding out is that he feels that the circles on the star forts were for hoisting goodies in. Isn't it, Matthew? The star forts are for hoisting goods in, the circles.
Goods, well,
they're basically working a bit like a mill. About it, a mill is a windmill on its side.
I think there's probably been several.
So it's the same structure, but instead of the wind taking the blades round, it's happening sideways on the floor, like this video, and the man the wheel round, it does the same thing like a windmill.
It has to have water.
It has to have water.
to work.
Yeah, and this is why
Windmill has
Mickey
to have
thinks that a lot of the chambers had water in, and it was their way
The
of
bottom
making energy and stuff like that. But some of them we know are crypts. And under the old churches out in Laxfield, I don't know, that was a crypt. Well, you can say it's different, but they had the same structures and the same...
yeah, the same makage, yeah. Same,
They were-
like, structural
yeah.
strength and, yeah, the same look. I'll
So
guarantee
he's
you that.
talking, and it just took me
That's
ages
exactly what-
to get, it just seems that my computer likes playing up. So he's going, I'm sorry, the original video will be playing in a minute,
Yeah,
but we've
yeah.
just used this to talk. So he's very obviously, I'll put a link to his channel in the description,
Yeah,
and
really
please go and have a look at his channel,
Yeah, definitely.
because
For like star forts.
he explains it all to you. Here's what he's thought.
Simplifies it.
And I suppose it's interesting because you see that, he doesn't think star forts are made for fighting.
No, definitely not.
So once you realise that, and the fact that they were storing the goods for the people and things like that maybe are going on. Maybe they had hotels in them, I don't know they were, but they definitely were storing the goods for the people. You can see why they would have mill-like things, the stuff in and out.
The
Because
hoist inside.
it always surprised me. You think, well, it was the 1400s. What does rug from Egypt? And I want those onions from France, and I want from America. Oh, what? It'll be there in a couple of weeks. Great. It's just like today, internet. The same kind as we did, but they didn't have. Still got the rugs and the furniture and whatever it was, and the tiles.
In this video, the size of the sacks.
Yeah.
And these sacks were like 18 stone in weight. That's heavier than that's like me, 1.5 of me. How much food are they producing? That's 75 kilo weight, where in these like 100.
And the fact that
That's amazing.
they got the was here for at least 1,000 years, if not
Doomsday.
older. It's older. It's getting older, isn't it? Oh,
1,000
everything's a
years
few
old.
hundred years old. Oh no, now everything's getting older.
Big stuff.
Some 70 years later.
Well, this is an absolutely massive.
Yeah. I say it's not that.
What
not
it
that
was
far gone.
is, over 1,000 years ago, they'd work to capture and do what they had to do with this. It's a lot of water through here, but they have the technology,
Same as like a dam. Open the sluice gate wider or slower.
and it's still working today.
Yeah, in the same way it did even then.
So
once
anyway,
it goes.
it's very,
Non-stop energy. If the
Yeah.
wind stops, then it stops.
and it's still working today, 1,000 years later.
Once you go, done.
Most of it breaks tomorrow.
Isn't that true? Yeah.
Well, it's
Once
interesting
making stuff.
is that it still works, or has been working, and how he can get it going.
Yeah.
This whole thing
By just in push starting it like a
with
windmill.
water. So obviously
The push
Mickey's
start
thing
windmill,
is they
and you
use
push start
water
this.
to make energy.
Yeah, same as down like all the factories down there.
Maybe it's get a chamber to make it energy, it can be to store the people, or you can live in it. Or have a church in it.
Flowing river, flowing energy.
Yeah, anyway, this bit's coming to an end in just a minute, but I hope that you find this talk a little bit interesting.
Free energy.
What he's saying is, this is the problems I'm having. But you'll listen to the other bit of when he's talking. We always like that information. And thank you very much to the channel.
Yeah, yeah.
So Mickey's found him. Thank you very much. I'm now subbed. And
I'm the subber now.
yeah, we might just use a little bit more of his stuff. We're reporting his channel. So, it's here. Never mind. What's he called again, Mickey?
Called Old World Agriculture.
Old World Agriculture and History. A bit of problem here. This is why I wanted to go over it, because it's just everything is just no. I don't believe it when it does all this. It just has to be difficult. But Mickey understands this. He sees it happen to me. This probably happens to everybody, but it's always a bit annoying. Now we're going to hear what he's going to say about this mill.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I'm wondering whether it's the same sort of thing in the staff.
Yeah.
So they put guns in them.
Yeah.
When they put guns,
Uncanny.
they was doing the goods up and down into the
Why wouldn't we? Got energy all there.
storage places.
Yeah.
This guy would do it a lot more justice than me.
Roughly how long has this mill been here on the side of this river?
As far as we're aware, the mill has been here for 999 years at the moment. It was given to the Abbot of Glastonbury by King Edmund Ironside in 1016. So we're pretty sure that the King of Wessex wouldn't have given one of the richest abbeys in the country a load of old peasant huts. So I'm pretty sure, and others agree with me, that there would have been a manor house here and the mill and so on. And it's certainly verified by the Domesday Book some 70 years later.
An absolutely massive body of water, and of course the River Stour. Over the years it's been used so many times in so many different ways. Milling, one of the main industries here for a long time though, along these riverbanks. The big question is, with such a huge force of water, particularly when you get weather like we have at the moment, how do you build a mill that will withstand it? How does it actually all work?
Well, building a mill was, I suppose, something of a mystery, really. One has to remember that the mill's been here for certainly over 1,000 years, and how on earth they managed to dam this force of water in those days with none of the modern mechanics that we have is open to speculation, I think, at the very least. This is quite a strong flow today, but sometimes it flows much stronger than this, and we could even be here up to our necks in water on a very flooded winter day. But the river flows pretty steadily all through the summer. The very fact that it's called the Stour, I believe, means strong, meaning that it was a strong flowing river, and so it went on flowing all through the summertime. This is a 2-ton flywheel here, and that kept everything working at a nice steady pace, and of course that improved the output of the mill.
Well, I think, Peter, there's a lot of mechanics going on, a lot of engineering going on, and I think the best thing is probably to see it actually fire up, and then we can run through it as it comes up through and all the different systems kick into action.
Yes, okay, so it only takes a couple of minutes, so let's get going.
Let's give that a try. Couple more turns.
Well, Peter, it looked as though you did that more by eye than anything.
Yes, that's right. It depends entirely on the levels of the water. Normally Normally I give it about 25, 26 turns, and then I feel it stiffen up, and at that stage I give it about another 7 turns, and away we go.
So judging the volume to create the amount of power that you require, that's really just something you learn, you just by experience?
Yes, what I've been doing is lifting a sluice gate at the very back of the mill there, and that allows water to come into the turbine, and the more water you let into the turbine, the quicker it'll go, or the more power you're producing. And so normally for a steady tick over like this, it gives, as I say, about 20 to 30 turns.
Now as you said, the turbine is on the level really. How does the turbine work?
Basically the water comes through from the back of the mill where there's a head of about 5 feet. That causes water pressure low down underneath our feet here, and so as I turn this wheel I'm lifting a sluice gate. Water pressure behind the sluice gate forces its way through, swirls around in a huge casing, and as it swirls around in the casing it's like making an artificial whirlpool, and inside the middle of this whirlpool are blades, and as the water swirls round it pushes the blades round, and that's what drives the mill.
And we can see the power coming up through now, and then as you said you started to describe the crown wheel and pinion up there, a bit like a diff really.
That's right, and that's driving a shaft which goes through to the far end of the mill, which in turn drives some hammer mills through there, and then the main shaft is extended further up through. It disappears up through the ceiling here, and there's another crown wheel above, just like a diff as you say, and that drives a lay shaft, which in turn drives a lot more machinery on the next floor.
There's a heck of a lot to explore. We will go and have a quick look.
Basic mechanics of this particular water mill, and I'm pretty sure most water mills work in a similar basis. But this is the part of this particular video that I had a total ding moment, and it was one of those moments which you don't get very often, but I think it puts everything together. But have a watch of this and how they hoist the sacks up and what it looks similar to. I apologise about the quality here, by the way. I'm just screen recording it, so yeah, and it won't only be this particular part.
Hard to run the mill and to hoist our sacks.
Let's go and have a look. Well, the sacks coming in, I mean, they're no mean weight themselves, and to lug them in's bad enough. But how on earth are we going to move these around the building, Peter?
Well, as you say, the sacks were enormous. This is a typical sack from the old days, and it was often called a 2 1/4 sack because it held 2 1/4 hundredweights. Bringing that a little bit more up to date, that was 18 stones or 114 kilos. And that makes it something in the region of 4.5 times what you're allowed to lift in the workplace these days. So these sacks were brought in from a wagon outside on the miller's back, brought in here, but they had to go to the top of the mill. The mill worked on the principle that you balanced the power from the water against gravity. So the power from the water operated the machinery and did the lifting for you. Gravity dropped everything back down again. So these sacks had to go right to the top of the mill.
It's amazing because the whole structure is working literally from top to bottom on gravity.
Yes, that's correct. And so all the miller had to do was to pull down on this cord, and we get a chain, and we do that. So we get a loop. Here we have a sack. The loop goes around the neck of the sack, pulls up tight, and then all we do is pull down on that again. And away goes the sack.
That is absolutely amazing. I can't believe, and you're doing the same movement, but one's long and one's short. I can't.
And this is where I had the ding moment. I thought, oh my god, this is exactly the same as what it's like in all these forts. So on each level you've got a circle in the roof, and it's obviously to bring up goods, whatever they were hauling, whatever they were doing in these forts.
Wait to see how that works. I think what we're going to do is we're going to explore this right at the top of the mill. So let's move on to see as it comes down on its first trip round, and we'll work our way up through the floors, I think.
Okay, we'll do just that.
So to try and give you an idea of what I mean, this is some pictures I took from the No Fort, which is in Weymouth, Dorset, and this is what they allege is the hoist for the bullet casings and the shell hoists.
So, isn't that amazing, Mickey? After all, the star forts have mechanisms in them where they're probably at least being able to haul goods up and down different parts of the forts. Maybe the star forts are twisting round.
Yeah, like the vortex. Yeah.
The leaves are twisting. God, can you imagine it? As it's going round. Oh, you've just taken off. Oh, I don't know what that would look like, but there was a bit of a suggestion that maybe they were more mechanical.
Yeah, inside. See the mechanics inside with, like, you know, it's uncoming usually like a windmill, the way a windmill would do it, but
Yeah, so like a mill.
yeah, so sort of contained.
Maybe they were big mills.
To me, it's like, yeah, it's
Were they factories?
like,
Sort of,
like
yeah.
that.
The next bit he's going to get onto is that no matter what they say about this star fort, you can never find any films of them making it. And when they show you the pictures, because there's rubble and things around, it's not like they're making it, they're breaking
It's like
it.
in between, isn't it? It's never at the beginning or at the end.
It's like they're breaking it rather than making it. So this is what this next bit's about, because obviously this guy has a very good idea of what he believes the star forts are all about.
Right,
And we're just going to add a couple of more bits of his because he's a very intelligent young man.
Yeah.
And obviously we'll put the link to his channel in there and you can go and watch these videos and see how his mind works.
No, it's similar. When we started, when I first saw it, I thought, my God, his thinking was on the side of mine, but he just put two together, and it just made sense for what I was thinking. I knew it was for water. But in what way would it be using it? You know, only like, you know, they have city staff and like emitting or putting out anything. You know, for me, star forts not only emit energy, but also it's like we never had fertilizer in the fields. And there was like I've got to find it. It's like my friend Telex showed me like a 1940s before the war of like I think it was like either Holland or Belgium, and the land was like twisted in such a way with like a vortex twist. And I thought, how the hell can those farmers do that? Because that's the first thing that me and Kay sort of freaked out about, how that land was actually like it was
You mean
being
the one
twisted.
in Africa, wherever it is?
No, this is in Europe.
Right.
Yeah, before the wars. Yeah, and this land was like it was twisted by someone, like twisted like that, and everything was perfect, it was like a mosaic of different colours. And yet we could see that there's this star fort, literally, just the ends were like pushing out this energy. Because there's no fertiliser. It's like that electrical thing. You know, to make your like when you use
That's what
copper
they
tools.
say about the pyramid, like Silbury Hill.
When you use copper tools for your digging, it helps the soil. You know, you cleanse the soil. Copper tools, like, you know, hand tools for your soils. So it works in that sort of way. Because you never had fertilisers and all that shit like you have today. So what did you have? You just had water in the land, but then you needed that energy. So all this twisting fields and that, it's obviously making that land fertile and more plentiful where no one went hungry. But then, as you know, it's like even where I live, when I was a child, every road I went down, every house I sort of went past their garden would have an apple tree, pear tree, cherry tree, plum tree. I'd never be left hungry. So the generation before that would have grown that food for us to eat, not go hungry. But yeah, as you kind of come to touch it all down, you ain't getting that for free. Yeah,
A bit like I said, the man
same when they locked
on
down
the bridge.
Starfield,
He knows how that mill works. But in 20, 30 years, there might not be anybody that knows how it works.
It has. It's to help us.
Should we put the rest of the video on? Because we're going to come back and say a bit more in a minute,
If
Mickey.
it helps us, they like to destroy.
We're going to say a bit more in a minute.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Just a little bit.
They claim to be construction photos. So this is a book from 1785. The Weymouth Guide exhibiting the ancient and present state of Weymouth and Melcombe Regis. And this is just a local guide. And if we go down to page 53. So it's talking about the forts around the town, and I know you guys are not local to the area, well, most of you are not, and won't know these places, but I think I'll make it quite obvious that they are all referring to the same place. Well, it's very obvious they are. So it's talking about the various forts that were in the town. So the chapel, as we have observed, was converted into a fort. New fort or jetty fort at the entrance to the harbour, at the end of the old pier at the foot of the hill, was taken down in 1661. South of this, on the top of the hill, now known by the name of the Nose, and this is important, these little words are relevant in the other books that I found reference in as well. So now known by the name of the Nose, at the eastern point of it was another North Fort, where still 3 guns are mounted. So in 1785 they are saying there are guns mounted on this North Fort, which they've now called Nose. The Nose. Let's go to a later book. So this is from 1829, and it's by George Ellis, and it's a history and antiquities of the borough of Weymouth and Melcombe Regis. So this is talking about the forts. There were also several forts erected in the town, and about the in there are buried buildings. I will show examples of that just to reiterate. I'm not totally saying that some buildings are not buried, because they are, but is a lot of it just levelling up. And I'll show you an example in the background here, and this is Nelson Monument in Liverpool. So as you can see, with the ironwork and the beams, that was clearly about 20 foot lower, and they've just leveled it up. I'll just show you a picture in the background of a starfall. I'm not 100% sure it is. It's a picture by Cleaner Salomon between 1700 and 1761. when you have a look at quite a lot of these areas on Google Earth now, they're literally unrecognisable. You would never know it was there. Some of them you can see perfectly well and they're really well preserved. But what would be a really easy way, if you were trying to visually get rid of these, to get rid of the outline? I mean, if you look at the picture you're looking at now, if you just took those bottom two levels out, just built above them, what would you be left with? And do we see examples of what's underneath here? Possibly could be underneath here, which is a red brick and all that sort of stuff, underneath many, if not all, towns and cities in every single country across the world. And it would erase the total outline of all of these, of all of the outline, attempting to harness the energy from the water.
Commodore Porter did not believe the area to be suitable for a fort when he was tasked with surveying it. But, for some reason, the government thought otherwise and began alleged construction of the fort. This absolutely stunning fortress is actually the largest brick masonry structure in the Americas, with a total of 16 million bricks. Every single one of these bricks was allegedly brought across the ocean by ship. 16 million heavy bricks were supposedly delivered between 1846 and 1875, with multiple ships sinking along the treacherous route. But the fortress was never completed, nor did it ever see a battle. Fort Jefferson was abandoned in the 1890s and again in 1906, only to be repurposed as a bird sanctuary. Something very interesting is that the fort has a unique system of cisterns embedded into its walls. I will read from Wikipedia. In order to support such a large population in an area lacking fresh water, an innovative system of cisterns was built into the walls of the fort. Sand-filled columns were placed at regular intervals in the inner walls, spanning their height from the roof to the foundation. The columns were intended to filter rainwater from the rooftop for long-term storage in a series of underground chambers. However, the rainwater dissolved salts in the sands, where the cisterns had not been made tight, making the water unfit for drinking, but usable for washing and cooking. Only the rainwater runoff stored under the parade ground was fresh for drinking. 2 steam condensers stilled 7,000 gallons of seawater per day during the Civil War. It seems to me this star fort has an elaborate aquatech system that was crudely repurposed as a drinking well by ignorant inheritors.
And if you look at the bottom, there's water, and you can clearly see that they are very similar to what you would see in a reservoir or a modern reservoir. So if many people have ever been in a modern reservoir, but the pillars you get in there are very similar. Portland has literally been destroyed over the years, over the decades, centuries, and this is not unique at all whatsoever to Portland, but it's a great example of how they cover up stuff. So 1800s, and then you have the Wright brothers, which is the early 1900s, with the with the aeroplane. So how are you building these structures and making them so symmetrical from above, yet the official narrative or the official history tells us we couldn't even fly back then? So are you telling me that they've got some magic device where they can fly up in the air? And again, this is another reason why I believe the powers that be have hidden this from us for so long, because if people worked out what these looked like from above, I think they'd be asking the same questions. And is it only because of the last century that we've realistically, the general public, have been able to see from above? Obviously on this timeline, this history timeline. Is that the reason why this information is largely stayed unchallenged? Because you wouldn't get as many people who would notice this stuff. Therefore, people like myself who maybe notice, or people like myself and yourselves who have noticed this stuff now, it was probably only a handful of people that ever noticed this. And we all know the only way information gets out there to the masses is if several people or several different groups, or the information comes from several different sources, and then people start seeing it too. And I think it's only where you've had eyes on it.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's old world architecture. Wow, so we've got the insides are like mills. Maybe they were machines twisting and with water. What's your thoughts, Mickey?
Star thoughts, I'd say.
Well, we gather that one, Mickey. We're talking about Star Thoughts. This guy's very much into Star Thoughts.
Yeah, he's sort of sussing it out, isn't he? Mm-hmm.
I'd like to thank him very much. We have taken a little bit of his footage, but please, everybody who hasn't seen all of the stuff he's talking about, please go over to his channel. The link will be in the description of this video. And he ignited Mickey.
Yeah. It sort of told me what I was like suspicious in myself of what they were. Yeah.
But I'm not sure all the underground chambers are all water features. But I see what you mean about the aquarium, that, you know, maybe the ceramics on the things, it could have been, they're like little mini stations. I gather that's what it's about, but I see a lot of them have been used as crypts.
I know what you're saying.
It's not water, but maybe they were all once that thing, and then over the time they've used them as crypts.
What's that?
I don't know, Mickey.
But they do. They're like the history, and it's something else.
Yeah. But this guy's very interesting, because now we've got the big circles in the star forts were probably mill-like things to get the goods in and out. He has established these things are not meant for war, and that they've added the guns for a show, whatever, changed things around in the Second World War, but nearly all these forts that had millions spent on them were never used. They were half built, then left, and they were never used in any wars, even though they want to call them military things when they weren't. And it seems that there was some kind of mill, or we have made... Oh, Mickey, you made our little video. Hang on a minute, everybody. So here we are. in Holland on the foot of a star fort with a windmill. So you see, it could have been in all the petals, but it's definitely in this one. And so you could have had some kind of mill or even windmills on these star forts.
Yeah,
And that kind of what started the video off. We've gone in this long circle all the way round, but Mickey saw it in this guy's videos.
Yeah. Putting two and two together, isn't it?
So, you know, they must be underneath and mechanical. It's just, yeah.
That little town.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else we can do? All sort of makes sense now.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, we found a star fort with a windmill on it. And that can't be the only one.
There's no wars happening in them days, is there?
No, this can't be the only star fort like this. And then if you think of windmills, and your bloke was talking about mills, which is a windmill on its side, just doing even more mechanical things.
The windmill, we just got to push it and the way it goes. Same with the water wheel.
Yeah.
Well, it goes, and this goes forever. Anyway.
So this is his channel, and thank you very much for all the hard work that he's done and his opinions. Look at his views. Oh yes, we've done that one as well. Yes, he has sort of done. I mean, look, you wouldn't be able to stand there if that was molten lava coming out of there. It'd be too hot. That guy's standing there. Look, probably just got shoes on, or no wellies. So he's got wellies on. But anyway, this is his videos, and it spurred us to make another video and promote him. Yeah, and we're sort of talking very similar things. The last few videos we've made have been a bit weird, haven't we? Them bones.
Oh God.
What's all that about? But anyway.
Macabre.
Is that it, Mickey?
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to say?
I'd just like to say thanks, old world. Culture and history.
Yeah.
It's, like,
and yeah, thank you very much. And you know, if he wants to have a chat with us,
any day.
We'll have a bit of a hangout chat with him, and we can record it and put it on the channels.
Yeah, I think we got some new viewers as well. So,
well, yeah, he's up and coming.
He's a freshman.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Anyway, Mickey, we're going now. It's thank you from him.
It's thank you from.
It's thank you, Mickey. No, thank you, Mickey. You brought him to our attention.
But that's what I'm like. I give you the rabbit and you dig the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you are the Sherlock, you know. So, yeah, that's what it's all about.
I don't know. We're just showing stuff. I mean, we think it's quite enlightening lately. The stuff that we're showing.
Yeah.
We don't understand it all, but we're showing maybe a bit more through other people. But you know, other people inspire you, and you know, we've done quite a lot about. Well, I think I've shown more star forts, but we have done stuff about star forts.
That's never on the same level.
Did you see our melted reality was in the chat room tonight? That was good. Country boy archaeology was in there. Yeah, thank you, and to everybody that comes in the chat room. Much love to everybody that comes over and watches us. Yes. Anyway, we are going now.
Oh, what's that famous thing we say at the end?
What?
What's that thing we say at the end for everyone?
What?
What's your thoughts?
Oh, go on, then you say it.
You said it.
You said it. What?
No,
yeah, what's your thoughts? No, sorry about that, a bit slow. What's your thoughts, everybody? Over and out from me and Mickey.
Over and out, old chap.
Yes.
Tucks away.